This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
And now we move to our Android Basics section, where Austin is going to show us developer options.
Hello everyone. So last week we had discussed about the About phone and tips and support. In the About phone, when I was talking, I had told you that we can enable developer options by tapping on the build number 7 times. Today we are going to discuss what are the useful options in the developer options that we can use. Now, please note, enabling developer options and going in there is very advanced. It may leave your device in a not working state, not a brick state, but some of the features may just stop working if you go in there and enable something which you don't know you have enabled. So, if you just want to experiment, you should take an audio recording of whatever you are going there and doing, and then you can just go there and undo it again and fix it. But what I'm going to show you today does not have any harm if you do it. So you can definitely be safe and do it, and there's no harm done. So let us now go and enable developer options. I'm in the About Phone section of the settings, and I need to find my build number, which is towards the bottom of the screen.
Build number UPP 2.230217.004.
So this build number can change as the new versions of Android release, as Android updates release, sometimes they change. This build number can also be in a different place if you use phones from a different manufacturer, but today we are going to only talk about Pixel phones. So let's enable this.
You are now 4 steps away from being a developer.
So I tapped 3 times and it's saying that I'm only 4 steps away from being a developer.
You are now 3 steps away from being a developer. You are now 2 steps away from being a developer. You are now 1 step away from being a developer.
Now I'm going to tap on it the last time.
PIN. Screen lock. Re-enter your PIN. PIN. Showing numeric password keyboard.
And the last time when I tap on it, it enables the developer options, but it asks me for a PIN because some of the options here can also open up security holes on your Android phone. So it really wants to confirm, are you really sure that you are doing this?
1.
So I entered my PIN, and there is the next button, and I'm going to tap on it.
You are now a developer. Keyboard hidden. About phone. Build number UPP 2.230217.004.
It has said you are a developer. So we have enabled developer options. Let's go in there and check it out. So the developer option is found in the system settings.
System. Navigate up.
Towards the bottom of the screen above the reset option.
Multiple users. Developer options.
Again, different OEMs can have these developer options in different places. So let me open this.
Developer options. Navigate. Use developer options on.
Now, if you want to disable the developer options, just turning this thing off, use developer options, you turn it off, and that's it. You have disabled developer options.
Memory, AVG 4.1 gigabytes of 5.8 gigabytes memory used.
So this is the memory usage of your phone. And it's telling me it's 4.1 of 5. Means most of the settings are only for developers. If you are developing an app, testing the app, that's only for them. But there are some really precious settings in there that you can configure.
Bug report.
Bug report, again, if you want to send bug reports of your app or take bug reports of your device and read them, then you can do this.
Bug report handler, Android system. Desktop backup password. Desktop full backups are currently protected.
Now, back in the old day, under Android 4.3 and lower, you could take a full desktop backup of your phone. You could back up your phone on your computer, and there were some ways to do it. And you had to set a password for the backup so that the backups are protected. But now with Android 4.4 and up, and slowly, Google has removed that availability, or the availability is there, but you don't get a full backup because of some permissions not being there. So the setting is no longer used, but some of these settings are really old. It may not apply fully, and these may be removed at some point.
Stay awake. Screen will never sleep while charging. Off.
So if you enable this, your phone will always stay awake while charging, only while charging. And if you have set talkback to never speak notifications when your screen is off, you can allow it to speak notifications when the screen is awake. I mean, what I wanted to say is it will speak notifications when the screen is awake, and you can see instantly, you can see your battery life. So if you are little paranoid about your battery life, or you don't want to charge your phone to 100%, 80% only, so you can see how much percent your phone is at. So it will stay awake. But once you remove it from the charger, then it will not stay awake. It will lock itself.
Enable Bluetooth HCI Snoop log. Disabled.
Again, this is Bluetooth logging, not for us, unless your developer has told you, your app that you are using, if the developer has told you to enable this, then only enable. If you enable, nothing
Crossbar
bad
K
will
comma.
happen,
Snoop logger
but
filters.
it's better not to do it. Again, these are Snoop log filters. I mean, what logs you want to be captured, you can filter them here.
Snoop logger filter PB. Snoop logger filter map. Enable Snoop log mode filter to change this option. Disable.
Again, these are just developer options, not for us.
OEM unlocking. Allow the bootloader to be unlocked. Off.
This is the first gem that I was talking to you about. OEM unlocking. So if you are in an Android beta and you want to opt out, you want to flash the stable version of Android, or you are in a stable version, you want to opt into a beta and you need to flash the beta using Google's flashing tool, that is online flashing tool, which I had demoed in, I don't know which episode, it was way back, how to opt your pixel out of a demo. That was the title of the episode. So you can search that demo, or we will have the links of that episode in the show notes and in the YouTube video description. So you can check the video description on YouTube, or you can check the show notes on our website. So once you enable the OEM unlocking, it'll ask you for your PIN again, and then you can unlock your bootloader by connecting your phone to fast ADB, and then booting into fast boot, and then issuing the command. And different phones have different ways to unlock the bootloader. Pixel has one way, Xiaomi will have another way, and you'll have to read up the bootloader unlocking guide on XDA and follow each and every step that they tell you, line by line, word by word. Because if you miss a step, your phone will be stuck in what is known as a half unlock and half lock, where you will be able to write some partitions, but you may not be able to write to other partitions, and then you will have to either flash the whole factory image and unlock the bootloader, or you'll have to take your phone to the service center, which will also do the same thing, but they'll have a tool to do that. And also in some OEMs or manufacturers, unlocking the bootloader will void your warranty. So you need to be careful. Samsung phones have a special hardware fuse that if you unlock the bootloader once, that fuse will be no longer useful. So even if you lock the bootloader again, your warranty will still be void. So that is the OEM unlocking, and this can also lead to some security problems because Google's protection features will no longer work once you enable OEM unlocking just by enabling it, not even unlocking the bootloader. So that is why another recommendation that once you are done with Google's online flashing tool, the flashing tool will lock your bootloader, that is sure, but it does not turn off the OEM unlocking settings in the developer option. I don't know why it does that. So you need to enable developer options and go in there and turn the OEM unlocking off. You won't lose data by enabling it or disabling it, but you will surely lose data by locking or unlocking your bootloader. So let's go to the next. This was a very big feature which I needed to explain. So I have done the explanation.
Running services, view and control currently running services.
So this is like the task manager of Windows. This will show you each and every service that is running on your phone. Let us take a look at this. You can go in there.
DSU loader,
and
automatics, web view, running services, view, running services,
take a
navigate
look.
up, more options, device memory, system, 1.7 gigabytes of RAM, apps, 1.6 gigabytes of RAM, free, 2.5 gigabytes of RAM, app RAM usage. 20 settings, settings, 1 process and 0 services, 167 megabytes.
So settings is using 167 MB of RAM.
Bluetooth, 1 process and 8 services, Bluetooth, 1 process and 8, Bluetooth, 1 process
So
and 8.
sometimes it just refreshes
Adaptive
itself.
connectivity services, 1 process and adaptive connective camera, 1 process and 1 carrier services, 1 process and 1 service, third camera, Google, 1 Google Play services, 1 Google
So
Play
it keeps
services,
refreshing it.
back.
That is one of the disadvantage. But if you get it to stop refreshing on you, it keeps refreshing because the the RAM usage or something changes, so it just refreshes itself. If you can stop this from refreshing on you, you can then kill the service that you want. But again, killing services and restarting the services does reduce your battery life. So do not go in there and just look and just keep killing services. This is the same warning that I want to give if you use a task manager like Clean Master or something, or to kill your processes and services to, and that says that, oh, we are reducing your battery life. In fact, no, we are killing your battery. So do not use that also.
WebView implementation, Android system WebView.
So you can go here and change your web view that your phone uses, and you can implement various web views. Like some, you may get a web view that is more accessible, or you may get a web view that is a beta version, canary version. You can go in there and check it out.
Automatic system updates, apply updates when device restarts, on.
So this option is again a useful one for those of you, especially Pixel phones, because you get an update every month. And what it does is it will tell you that, okay, there is an update available. It will download the update if you have set the phone to automatically do so. And it will install the update because there is an A/B partition. So it can install the update even when the phone is on. But when you restart your phone, that time it will do the partition switching. So you have the updated partition, which becomes the active partition, and the non-updated partition that is inactive and that waits for another month. When that gets a new update, and then that will become a active partition. So you don't need to do anything. You just restart your phone and it will automatically apply the update, so that you can enable or disable as you wish. By default, it is disabled.
DSU loader, load a dynamic system update image.
So once again, way back in some episode, I think when we were discussing Android 13 betas, I had shown this, where you could load a dynamic system image and try out Android without making any change to your system. So it's like a virtual machine of some sorts. So you can enable this if you want to try a different Android image. Some of the OEMs does not support this properly. So you that is like a virtual machine where you try, where you load the latest Android available, and if your OEM supports it, you can try. But after you restart the phone once, after you enable DSU loader image, and you load the Android image, after that, if you restart the phone, all the changes that you made in that image is gone. So you cannot restore, you cannot sort of save the changes in the image. It's like a ROM. It does not store written data to the image. That image just goes and your phone becomes back to normal.
System UI demo mode.
So this is again some demo mode of system UI, which we should not enable.
Quick settings developer tiles.
You can have the developer tiles in quick settings. Again, I don't think it is more useful that you have the developer tiles here. So again, it's better not to have this.
Debugging.
Debugging. Here there are a lot of gems, and here I'm going to take a lot of time.
USB debugging. Debug mode when USB is connected. On.
So debug mode when USB is connected. If you turn this on, it will say, do you want to allow debugging? You say, okay. Then you connect your phone to the computer and run fastboot devices, fastboot space devices. It will give you the computer's RSA key, and it will give you a checkbox, always enable for this computer. You check the box and then you click OK. By USB debugging, you can install apps using USB, which is also called side loading. You can do all sorts of things using USB. And also, if you want to reboot from ADB mode to fast boot mode to recovery mode, this debugging has to be enabled. So it's a good option to enable if you are constantly roaming your phone, modifying different partitions, but it also has some security implications, which maybe you need to weigh when you are, if you want to ROM and you want to keep this enabled, or you just want a stable, the phone is stable, but if you want this to be disabled. But if you are side loader, definitely enable this feature, and you will have very easy way of installing the apps. So the command is adb space install space name of the app, including .apk. So adb space install space talkback.apk. So that will then just straight away install the app on the phone, rather than copying the app to the user space or the SD card and then going to the file manager, installing it. That's a long cut method. So this is easier.
Revoke USB debugging authorizations.
So this is if you have enabled USB debugging by checking the checkbox, always enable from this computer. And if you don't want it to be enabled on that computer, you can go in there and see that computer, the RSA key. You have to remember the RSA key, and you can just revoke the authentication, telling it that do not enable it for this computer until I connect it next time. So that you can do.
Wireless debugging. Debug mode when Wi-Fi is connected.
Wireless debugging is also very useful in your watch. Yes, your watch also has developer options. You should enable it the same way as finding the build number, tapping on it. But there are not much useful apps or useful options in the debugging settings in your watch. There is just the debugging mode which you have to enable. Then you have to enable the wireless debugging. Then you will get the ports, the IP address and the port. So you can then sideload APK files on your watch. by just typing ADB space connect space IP space port. So that is the command, and then you need to type the same side loading command and install the APK on your watch. This also can be done on your phone. So if you do not if you do not have a cable at hand, you can quickly enable this wireless debugging and use the options on your phone. But one thing I have seen that enabling the wireless debugging does consume a lot of battery life. So I would suggest that if you enable, you should do your work, whatever you want to do with it, and then disable it so that your battery life does not reduce.
Off. Wireless debugging.
I have turned mine to off because I
Quick
always
prize is worth 10 rupees.
do
Off. Wireless debugging.
side loading using USB cable.
Disable ADB authorization timeout. Disable automatic revocation of ADB authorizations for systems that have not reconnected within the default 7 days or user configured minimum 1 day amount of time. Off.
So this is a security option that, let's say you enable the ADB on a computer, on a laptop, and you don't connect with for 7 days or more, or 1 day or more, the authentication can get revoked. So the next time you connect to the same laptop, it will ask you, do you want to enable on this computer the RSA key? They always enable, and then okay. So this you can disable it, but I would suggest that if you use this on an office computer, on your friend's computer, on some public computer, which you should never do, then you should never disable this because it can just get the authentication can get revoked, and which is a safe thing to be done.
Bug report shortcut. Show a button in the power menu for taking a bug report. Off.
So this again is if your developer has told you to take a bug report of your device, or then you can turn this on.
Enable verbose vendor logging. Include additional device-specific vendor logs and bug reports, which may contain private information, use more battery, and/or use more storage. Off.
So again, if your developer has told you to enable the advanced vendor logging and all those things, you can enable it. But this again, as stated, may contain information like device version, Android version, Wi-Fi Max. IMEI is the name of the Wi-Fi that you have connected to. Maybe I have never tried this, so you should turn this off. It's a big security risk. Enable it only if said to enable, and this also may consume a lot of battery and storage, as it says. One good thing about this is it gives you like an explanation of what it may do. So before enabling a feature, you can kind of understand that what this feature may do.
Enable view attribute inspection. Off.
Again, developer stuff, don't enable unless you are a developer.
Select debug app. No debug application set. Wait for debugger. Debugged application waits for debugger to attach before executing. Off. Disabled. Verify apps over USB. Check apps installed via ADB ADT for harmful behavior. Off. Disabled.
Because I have disabled my ADB debugging and not enabled wireless debugging, this option has been disabled. But if you use ADB debugging or wireless debugging, definitely make sure that this option is on so that your phone verifies that the app is not doing something harmful. And if it does something harmful, it should notify you or even uninstall the app. So make sure that this setting is on. Now, also, I want to state that some of the OEMs and some of the Android versions may not have some of the options.
Verify bytecode of debuggable apps. Allow Art to verify bytecode for debuggable apps. On.
Again, developer stuff, but it's on. So whatever is on, you leave it on. Whatever is off, you turn it off, unless we show you a feature that has to be turned off or turned on.
Logger buffer sizes 256K per log buffer.
These are log buffers. So these will keep a sparse size of 256K, which is very technical language, I know, but just let this be default. if you don't understand logger buffer size, or if your developer has not told you to increase or decrease the size, you keep it the default.
Feature flags.
Oh wow, this is the best gem ever. So you have seen, if you use a Chrome browser or Chromebook and you are an advanced user of the browser, you may have come across in some way or the other Chrome flags or Google app flags in some applications. These are the same. These, if you want to run some of the pre-release features and stuff, you should enable or disable the flag that you want. Enable the flag, not disable. But these may also cause the most problems because you are running some features that are hidden. Sometimes these the feature flags may be empty, but sometimes they may have something in it. It changes as your version of Android changes. If you run beta versions of Android, then you may be more likely to see some features in the feature flag. So let us just go into this for curiosity's sake and see if there are any hidden features in Android 14 developer preview 2. One thing I want to state that this is recorded before the beta 1 of Android 14 could hit. By the time we add this to the podcast, beta 1 of Android might have hit and the feature flags may change. But let us go in and see for curiosity if we have anything or no.
Feature flags. Navigate up. Experimental. Navigate experiment.
No, it is empty as usual. It just states experimental. But sometimes you may come across a gem in the feature flags. So do make sure that you go and check it out.
Back. Developer options. Feature flags. Enable GPU debug layers. Allow loading GPU debug layers for debug apps. On.
Again, all the debugging stuff is only for developers. Do not even pay attention to them.
Graphics driver preferences. Modify graphics driver settings. App compatibility changes. Toggle app compatibility changes. Show refresh rate. Show the current display refresh rate. On.
So if you want to see at what refresh rate your phone is running, which is not much useful for the totally visually impaired, but maybe useful for low vision people or for gamers, if you are some sighted person seeing this video by any chance, then if you enable this, it will show you your display's refresh. I can't talk today. It will show you the refresh rate of your screen. So let me just enable it for just a second and see what happens.
Allow screen overlays. Show refresh rate. Show the current display refresh rate. On.
This will show in the notifications bar. So let's turn this off because I don't want to see it.
Allow screen overlays on settings. Allow apps that can display over other apps to overlay settings screens. Off.
So these are like the talkbacks, privacy curtain, maybe, and or some of the other things that you want to display on settings. If you are a low vision person and you have set a theme, which or some app that displays over other apps, you can turn this on. And as I don't have any need for this, and by default it is turned off, so I'll leave it be off.
App compatibility changes. Toggle app compatibility changes. Show refresh rate. Allow mock modem. Allow this device to run mock modem service for instrumentation testing. Do not enable this during normal usage of the phone. Off.
Again, unless your service center person tells you to do this, do not do it. If you want to diagnose some modem problems, do not do it. Then only you should enable it. If you want to diagnose like some network problems, some GPS problems, then enable it. But if your service technician or your service center people tell you, then enable it or do not enable it. Again, it explains that do not enable under normal usage. So just leave it be.
System tracing, record system activity and analyze it later to improve performance.
Again, these are for developers that developer apps, and they want to see the system activity, and then they want to improve it, and so that the app performance and the system performance improves.
Angle preferences, modify angle settings.
So this is another new feature in Android which is not useful for us.
Networking. Wireless display certification, show options for wireless display certification, on.
Again, not useful for us.
Enable Wi-Fi verbose logging, increase Wi-Fi logging level, show for SSID RSSI and Wi-Fi picker, on.
So again, this is logging stuff. So developer stuff this is. Unless someone tells you to enable it, do not do it.
Wi-Fi scan throttling, reduces battery drain and improves network performance, on.
So in the setup of your phone, if you have enabled Wi-Fi scanning, even when Wi-Fi is off, this thing will be on. It will increase your network performance.
Enable Wi-Fi scan throttling, reduces battery drain and improves network performance, on.
So it will improve performance at the same time, reduce your drain. So definitely keep this on.
Wi-Fi non-persistent MAC randomization. When this mode is enabled, this device's MAC address may change each time it connects to a network that has MAC randomization enabled.
Again, do not do is unless if you are connecting to a corporate network and they have a list of MAC addresses set in their router for like MAC address blocking or some permissions that a certain MAC address gets, then do not enable it, because if you enable this, every time you connect or after a certain period of time, your MAC address will change. And if they have not listed your MAC address in the router's allow list, then your connection to the network will be blocked.
Mobile data always active. Always keep mobile data active, even when Wi-Fi is active for fast network switching, on.
So this is done. This is a good setting as well as a bad setting. If you use Wi-Fi calling, and some providers now, I don't know who sends MMSs, but MMSs do not go over Wi-Fi for some providers. And also, if you are downloading something and you have to leave the house, you should keep the data active even when Wi-Fi is connected on. But this will drain your battery life also, because you have two things active. As soon as you go out of your range of your Wi-Fi, you will automatically switch to mobile data, which should not take much time. So you might just hear a very small call drop if you are in a call, a very small stutter, which may not even be noticeable. And then you will switch automatically to mobile data, as well as if you come back in a connected Wi-Fi range, you'll switch back onto Wi-Fi. So this can be on or can be off. By default, it is on. For some of you, it may be off. So it depends on you. If you want to use this, turn it on. But this will increase battery drain.
Tethering hardware acceleration. Use tethering hardware acceleration if available, on. Network download rate limit. Configure the network bandwidth ingress rate limit, which is applied to all networks that provide internet connectivity.
So if you are on a limited plan, or you are you want to configure the bandwidth that your device uses, you can do this. I would not recommend you that you do this unless you want to save on bandwidth, so that people get equal bandwidth and your data does not get over fast if you're doing something. So,
Default USB configuration.
this is the most important gem of all. You connect your phone to the computer, then you unlock your phone, then you go into the notification, and then you find the USB transfer preferences or whatever they are called, and then You select that, and then you select whatever transfer you want, such as file transfer, MIDI, camera transfer, whatever the transfer options are. This is just one step. You enable the default USB configuration that you want. So, like if you transfer files a lot from your phone, um, you enable this, you connect your phone to the computer and just unlock your phone, and that transfer mode will automatically start. And then you can lock your phone, no issues. The transfer mode will keep on. One thing to note, do not enable it if you use guest computers a lot, if you use public computers a lot, and if you use whatever, if only use this on a personal computer, because you never know. Uh, you may get some surprise if you enable it on a guest computer or a public computer or some computer which many people use at once. So I would say do not enable on a public or a guest computer. There may be some data jacking or some data stealing and all those things that come with automatically transfers. So do this at your own risk. It's a risky feature, and also it's a very powerful and easy feature. So don't need to go and find that USB options for file transfer or whatever. Just enable and you are good. Let's see what options are there in this.
USB. Navigate up. Selected. Not selected. File transfer Android Auto.
So I always do file transfer. So mine is set to file transfer Android Auto. These options again may be named differently according to different OEMs. Some may just call it file transfer.
Not selected. USB tethering.
USB tethering is sharing your phone's internet using USB. That can be also an option if you are if you access the internet a lot through your phone, then you can select this.
Not selected. USB tethering. Not selected. MIDI.
Again, MIDI transfer or using your phone as MIDI device, you can select this option.
Not selected. PTP.
And PTP, you can also, if you use an app that does PTP or some photo transfer or photo save, then you can select this option. But I don't know why when file transfer is enabled, why you select this. But anyway, if your computer or your corporation needs you to have to enable PTP and use PTP for file transfers, then you can do it.
Not selected. No data transfer.
No data transfer. This is the default one that is selected by default. So when you connect your phone, you need to unlock it, go into notification, find the option, enable, and then enable the transfer that you want. So this is selected by default.
Back. Developer options. Default US. Show Bluetooth devices without names. Bluetooth devices without names. MAC addresses only will be displayed on.
So this is again, I don't know who will select this, but these will not show the names of Bluetooth devices. It will only show you the MAC addresses. So I don't know how you'll identify your device unless you have your MAC address written down.
Disable absolute volume. Disables the Bluetooth absolute volume feature in case of volume issues with remote devices such as unacceptably loud volume or lack of control. On.
So again, if you have a Bluetooth headset or whatever, both your phone's button and the Bluetooth headset's button controls the same volume. If your headset has some volume control issues or your volume is loud or slow or anything, you can disable the absolute volume, and then your phone's buttons may control one volume. If you can configure your headphone button to control another volume, you can do that and control another volume with this with the buttons. So like sound volume, ringtone volume, accessibility volume, and so on. So it depends on you. If you have problem with your Bluetooth device, then enable or disable this feature.
Enable Bluetooth Low Audio. Enables Bluetooth Low Audio feature if the device supports low audio hardware capabilities. Disabled.
So you can enable LE audio or the best audio lossless format, but your headphone should support that. Then there is some capability of enabling it.
Disable Bluetooth Low Audio hardware offload. On. Disabled. Disable Bluetooth A2DP hardware offload. Off.
Again, there is some A2DP stuff and all hardware offloading, which puts that on your phone instead of your device.
Bluetooth AVRCP version. AVRCP 1.5 default.
So these are all the Bluetooth AVRCP versions that you can select if your phone has more than one, or if the user manual of your Bluetooth device states that you select a different AVRC version, then you select that version.
Bluetooth map version. Map 1.2 default. HD audio. Off. Disabled.
You should enable HD audio if your device supports it again. And I'm not connected to any Bluetooth headphones, so it's saying off, disabled.
Bluetooth audio codec. Use system selection default.
Now, if you use a different codec, then there may be problems with your Bluetooth headset or headphones. So it depends. By default, systems codec is used, but unless your headphone comes with a app and that app has some codec, or the user manual tells you to use something, then do it. Otherwise, leave it as default.
Bluetooth audio sample rate. Use system selection default.
Again, this also may create problem if you change it. So unless your user manual does not tell you to do so, leave it the default.
Bluetooth audio bits per sample. Use system selection default.
These also may create problems if you change. So make sure that you follow all the directions.
Bluetooth audio channel mode. Use system selection default.
So here you can use mono, audio, stereo, but it depends on what your headset supports.
Bluetooth audio LDAC codec. Playback quality. Disabled. Maximum connected Bluetooth audio devices. Use system default. 5.
So you can connect up to 5 Bluetooth audio devices at the same time. If you want, you can increase it, but I would not recommend that because that may create lags.
NFC stack debug log. Increase NFC stack logging level. Off.
Some of the devices that does not have NFC may not have the NFC options.
NFC verbose vendor debug log.
I'm just going to
Includes
skip this
additional
because we are not
device-specific
going to
vendor
use
logs
anything in
and bug
NFC.
reports. NFC NC input. Show taps. Show visual feedback for taps. Off.
So if you want to see a small circle, if you are a low vision person or a sighted person, you want to see a small circle with explanations before you touch something, you can enable this, but talkback does not support it. So for those who use talkback, do not enable it. Nothing will happen, but that circle will not be spoken out.
Pointer location. Screen overlay showing current touch data. Off.
Again, these are useful for low vision people only.
Drawing. Show surface updates. Flash entire window surfaces when they update. Off. Show layout bounds. Show clip bounds, margins,
Again,
etc.
these are
Off.
not used for us.
Force RTL layout direction. Force screen layout direction to RTL for all locales. Off. Window animation scale. Animation scale 1x.
So again, if you want to increase your phone's performance, I mean, this does not make any difference if you use a very high mid-range or a flagship phone. But if you are using a really budget phone or a very old CPU phone, this may increase performance, but at the same time, setting your rates or scaling too low might also cause choppiness in the display. So the best option
Window
to choose
animation
is
scale.
1x
Animation. Window animation on.
to try. And if you don't want any animations, you can just select animations off.
Developer options. Window animation scale, animation off.
So you can either select 1x or animations off. That is the safest method. Do not go to 0.5, 0.75. That might create some choppiness in display.
Transition animation scale 1x.
Again, you can
Transition
turn this
animation.
off.
Transition animation off. Developer options. Transition animation. Animator duration scale. Animation scale 1x. Animator duration scale. Animation scale 0.5x. Animation off. Developer options. Animator duration scale. Animation off.
Again, as I said, this does not make any difference on a high-end phone, but this will save a little bit of resource. So there is no harm turning it off, but do not go on a very low scale like 0.5, 0.75. That will create problems. So you either select the default or you turn it off.
Simulate secondary displays. None. Smallest width 411 dp. Display cutout. Device default. Hardware accelerated display cutout.
Now, do
Device
not
default.
change anything in the display cutout because this also can create problems for talkback. So if you are setting your display cutout too large because there is a punch hole, or you want to simulate a punch hole or something, so do not do that. You just leave it at device defaults.
Hardware accelerated rendering. Show view updates. Flash views inside Windows. Show hardware layers updates. Flash debug GPU overdraw off.
So if you are a gamer, you can turn this on.
Debug non-rectangular clip operations off.
Do not turn this on.
Override force dark. Overrides the force dark feature to be always on off.
So if you have selected the dark theme in Android and some app is not compatible with the dark theme, you can force write that the dark theme should be enforced on that app. So you can try it out. Nothing major will happen if you turn this off. Turn this on, I mean, and if something happens, if you turn it on, you can go back and turn it off. So nothing major will happen. Maybe the app may crash or stutter, but nothing like your phone will turn on and all those stuff. So maybe it may cause a problem with some app.
Allow window level blurs on. Force 4x MSAA. Enable 4x MSAA in OpenGLS 2.0 apps off.
So if you are a gamer and you are sighted, you use a lot of GPU gaming and all, you can enable 4x MAA and all those OPEC 2 apps and all. You can enable that option.
Disable HW overlays. Always use GPU for screen compositing off. Simulate color space. Disabled. Media. Disable USB audio routing. Disable automatic routing to USB audio peripherals off.
Do not change anything in the media settings because if you do something wrong, your talkback might just stop speaking. So be aware of these settings.
Media transcoding settings. Monitoring. Strict mode enabled. Flash screen when apps do long operations on main thread off.
So again, these are CPU related monitoring. If your apps do a lot of operations on the performance core or the main thread of the CPU, then it will show the flash window, which is development stuff, not useful for us.
Profile HWUI rendering off. Apps. Don't keep activities. Destroy every activity as soon as the user leaves it off.
If you want your phone's battery to drain like water, you should enable this. What this will do is, if you, let's say, have Telegram open, you enable this setting, and then if you just go in the background, Telegram will close itself. So enable it only if you want to destroy your phone's battery or you want your phone's battery to drain like water and want to keep your phone continuously on the charger. So do not enable this if you want your battery life to stay long. This is like what the clean masters and all do, so which can drain a lot of battery. And not only against, we are not against Screen Master or anything, but we are against all the task killers and all the apps that uh, perform these activities.
Background process limit, standard limit.
Again, another battery drain. If you want to change, like only have one background process, two background process, then you should do it, but leave it at standard rate so that your Android will be intelligent enough to close the process that you have not used for a long time.
Background check. Always show crash dialog. Show dialog every time an app crashes. On.
If you are being bugged, you are just being bugged like we were in the Android 14 BT2, which is the worst developer preview ever. This app crashed, that app crashed, send feedback, force close, this, that. If you are just bugged by it, you should enable this option. So if the app crashes, it will not show you the app crash dialog. However, this may also have one disadvantage that if you enable this and some app just keeps crashing, your phone may become warm and your battery might drain because Android is trying to always restart the app and you do not have the option to force close the app or disable it, or you are not even notified that the app crashed. So it's a dual-edged sword, like most of the settings in the developer options are. So if you are really bugged by something, you should enable this setting.
Show background ANRs. Display app not responding dialog for background apps. On.
And the second thing, if you want to be bugged by every background app that is not responding, again enable this. But you will be just bugged if you are using Android 14 developer preview 2. I don't know how the beta will be. I hope the beta is good. But
Suspend execution for cached apps. Device default.
again, suspend execution, leave it at device defaults, or your battery drain will be a lot.
Show notification channel warnings. Displays on-screen warning when an app posts a notification without a valid channel. On. Reset notification importance.
If you have set some apps to show notifications as important orders, like notification important channels, then you can reset it, which I don't think most of us use. So leave it be.
Standby apps.
Standby apps. Now, this is the Android's intelligent thing. Android will only give resources or will take resources from the apps that you have not used for a long time, and it will keep the processes on standby so that if you switch to the app, you can instantly load the app rather than all the processes starting from the scratch. So it will keep your app in standby, like how a Windows laptop goes into standby mode. So it does that. So just leave it as it is.
There. Force allow apps on external. Makes any app eligible to be written to external storage, regardless of manifest values. On.
So again, developer mode, but if you want apps to write to external storage rather than phone storage, then you should enable this. But again, it may cause a little reduction in performance because external SD cards, whatever SD cards are going away. But if you have a phone with SD card, then apps may write to that, and SD cards are often slow to respond. So will reduce performance.
Force activities to be resizable. Make all activities resizable for multi-window, regardless of manifest values. On.
If you are multitasking and you want your apps to be in split screen, you can just resize the apps. Another old Android setting, but for those of the OEMs that do not have split screen as of now, can enable this option. It will resize your apps into split screen.
Enable freeform windows. Enable support for experimental freeform windows. On.
So freeform windows, it's just a windows without size. It will just resize if another app is opened or something happens which should not be done, because as it said, it's experimental, may cause problems with talkback and the app also.
Force desktop mode. Force experimental desktop mode on secondary displays off.
So only this feature applies if you have connected a secondary display.
Enable non-resizable in multi-window. Allows non-resizable apps to be in multi-window off.
Again, multi-window stuff you can enable if you want, do not if you do not want.
Predictive back animations. Enable system animations for predictive back off.
Which
Reset
should not be
shortcut
used.
manager rate limiting.
We don't use that.
Disable child process restrictions. Disable restrictions on the system resource usage of the app child processes off.
So one is the parent process, one is child process, which are sub processes launched by an app, which you should not restrict them, otherwise the app might become unstable.
Autofill. Logging level off.
Again, logging is
Max request
developer.
per session 10. Max visible datasets 0. Reset to default values.
All these are developer stuff.
Storage. Shared data. There is no shared data for this user. Disable location. Select mock location app. No mock location app set.
So if you are using a phone in multi-user mode, then you can share the data with one from one usage to another. That's what was there in the storage section. Now, mock location is a very important thing, but it also may cause problems. If you have some media that is not available in one country, you want to watch that media, or some apps that are not available in one country and you want to download, you can install third-party mock location apps, and then you can select those apps that you have installed in this
Location.
option.
Select mock location app. No mock location app set.
We will not tell you which mock location apps to install, because that will be under against YouTube's terms and our podcast imposed terms. We do not want to infringe on any piracy content. So
Force full GNSS measurements. Track all GNSS
we do not use
constellations.
that.
Input method. Stylus handwriting. When enabled, current input method receives stylus motion event if an editor is focused. On.
Some of the options in the developer settings even are there if the phone does not support stylus. Now, Pixels do not, at least as of now, as of today, Pixel phones do not come with stylus. So still the option for stylus is there, but do not use this. And that is the last option of the developer settings. This was a tour in the developer options, and hope you like this part of the episode.
Thanks very much for that, Austin. Warren, do you delve into developer options and have a play in here much?
Well, so frankly, the developer options is not something that I often do, unless, of course, I'm trying to do that ADB, that Austin talks about in the overview of the developer options, most especially when I'm trying to join some kind of a beta or whatever. I'm trying to use the Flash tool from the flashing or Android flashing tool on the web from Google. Other than that, though, I think another thing that sometimes I use would be to disable the animation. And talking about disabling animation, I know we do have it in the accessibility segment. However, if you do that from the accessibility segment, what I've noticed, however, is that you're going to lost your icons on your home screen, for example. So if you really want to disable animation, probably the best place to do it is from within the developer section. So or developer options. So that's what you need to do. Other than that, I don't necessarily mess around in the developer options. And like Austin says, people need to be careful when you go in there. Be sure you know what you're doing. And unless it's so necessary to go in there, don't even mess around in here.
There are some small gems in the developer settings that people can use definitely to make their life easier.
One of those gems, of course, would be if you want to choose a different codec for your Bluetooth, you could go in here and turn that on as well. And so, yes, indeed, there are things in there. But again, the caution is that you need to be careful. You need to know that you know what you're doing, because if you don't, you may wind up turning on something that's going to kind of make your device not work the way that you want it to. So that's the caution here.
My question goes for you both, Austin and Warren. Here in Turkey, the banking app says, if you want to use your NFC credit card, like NFC payment, you need to turn off developer options because it doesn't let us use NFC, they say. Is that true for you?
Well, you don't need the developer options on in order to use NFC. And frankly, by default, as we know anyway, the developer options is never on by default. And so NFC is not reliant on the developer options. So I don't know why anyone would want to turn on their developer options in the first place. Most especially if you're wanting to be using something like what you just described, though it should just work. I think what it's saying is that it's anticipating that maybe someone has turned on their developer options and that person needs to turn it off. The contrary, however, is that if you have the developer options on or the bootloader turned on, you're not going to be able to use your credit card or some of your financial stuff. That's been my experience.
No, I don't find that in the UK, so I have developer options on all my phones, and NFC works fine. Contactless payments work fine with developer options turned on here.
The NFC will work if the developer option is on, but it will not work for financial transactions or credit card or anything if the OEM unlocking is on, because that will also disable Google's protection feature. So then they might not want you to use the app if you have enabled OEM unlocking or allow OEM unlocking.
Yeah, so I'm thinking probably what's going on is probably talking about the, OEM unlocking about the bootloader, because if you do that, then you've disabled protection and no financial stuff is going to work. It will tell you your device is not secure.
I had a question, Austin, as well. When you said to tap on the build number 7 times, just to clarify, that's a double tap when you're running talkback, isn't it, rather than a single tap?
Yeah, it's a double tap.
What about you, Karine? Do you use developer options much?
Yes, it's turned on because I use ADV. And I use the disable absolute volume because you know that if you disable this, you will be able to have your media volume and accessibility volume not linked when you're using the Bluetooth earphones. So yeah, usually for this reason, I keep it on.
What about you, Doug? Do you come in here much?
I have it on, but I generally only have it on when I'm putting stuff over onto the watch. So my developer tools generally are on, but they're not used frequently.
How about you, Fee?
No, I haven't really investigated this. I thought about it once when because there's an issue with changing when you change the volume and you've got Bluetooth headphones on. You don't have the separate accessibility and media volumes on Bluetooth. And somebody told me ages ago that if I turned on developer options, I would be able to change this, but I wasn't. So they probably had a different phone to me, and I haven't. To be honest, that was a couple of years ago, and I haven't tried since. So yeah, I mean, I'm very busy with a lot of church things and everything, so I just want my phone to work. I haven't got time to accidentally get things wrong and then put them right just now. So and as you Austin has said and other people have said, you do need to know what you're doing or have plenty of time to fix stuff if you accidentally make it go weird. And at the moment, I'm too busy. So, but yeah, it's very interesting.
It definitely is. Sally, what about you?
I had the developer options turned on, but my bank keeps on saying turn it off, so you won't use NFC if you turn it on.
there are three things that I use it for. One we sort of touched on, and that's being able to install beta versions for which you need to come in here to do various things. The other, and I've mentioned it on here before, is mock location. So sometimes if content is geo-blocked, then they don't go via the IP address, the Internet Protocol address, where a virtual private network might help you. They'll go via your phone's location services, and they are smart enough, if you turn them off, to know they can't establish a location. So BBC Sounds does this if you want to listen to sporting events, for instance. But on Android, you can come in here, you can set a mock location to London, and it will work if you're abroad where it won't normally work. So useful thing in here to come and do. The other thing that will be of interest to Xiaomi users is that if you want to turn off Xiaomi optimizations, you go in here, you scroll all the way down to the autos fill section, and you double tap on reset default values. Quite why you double tap on that, I don't know. And there doesn't seem to be a given number of taps on all the forums I looked at. It just said tap it till the turn off optimization button appears, and I tried it. I couldn't get it to work. I went back in and tried it another day, and it did work after many taps. I'm pretty sure it was more than 7. Anyway, so if Xiaomi users want to turn off Xiaomi optimizations, and one reason you might want to is because the Xiaomi share sheet isn't great. So that's if you click on a file and it goes, how do you want to open this? Let's say it's a PDF. Do you want to use InVision AI? Do you want to use Word? The Xiaomi share sheet, try to say that after a few beers, only offers you a very few options, and the scrolling is inconsistent. But if you turn off Xiaomi optimization, then you get the standard Android share sheet. So for Xiaomi users, you might want to look at that reset default values button under autofill and double tap it until such time as the turn off optimization thing appears next to it. Very strange way to have to go and do that, but something you might want to check out.
Another thing, though, that may be of importance here in the developer options is most especially if you're using a third-party app, and I'm talking about screen recorders and AZ or Arizona Recorder. It's AZ Recorder, but we fondly call it the Arizona Recorder. If you are using something like that and you want to show those touches, most especially you're trying to describe to a developer portions of their app that you're having a problem with, and you want to show them exactly where that is. In order to be able to show those touches to appear in your screen recording, you need to go into the developer options and turn on that show touches to the on position. So that's another gem that is hidden in there. However, if you're using native screen recorders, this is not required.
And what was that option, Warren, that you have to turn on?
There's one that says show touch or something like that. Yeah. And
the Arizona screen recorder is, of course, speech synthesizer dictionaries tripping us up and misleading us with app names because they've got that as the state abbreviation for Arizona, which it is. But then it attaches itself to inappropriate non-Arizona related functionality. So it will be AZ or AZ screen recorder if you're talking to your sighted chums. They will literally have no idea what you're talking about otherwise.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it would be AZ as in A to Z, wouldn't it? That's I think what it means.
Yes, it is.